What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Ever Adaptive Podcast. I'm your host, Becky Flowers, along with my co-host, Sarah Budson.
What's up, guys?
So we're back. We know that we were going to be consistent. And honestly, in this
And
season of
life, so it's fine.
what's new? So right now, this is our consistency. We're
Yeah.
we are back.
We just need to schedule it. Just need to schedule it. Make it
It's time. Once a month. We're good.
okay.
But
Here we are. But
you want to announce our topic for the day? Is your idea?
announce. Oh, okay. Yeah. So we wanted to just touch on like not being so one-dimensional when it comes to fucking bodybuilding. I don't even know how else to say it, but like that's it. How many like I've met a handful of people, a lot of people actually, that like all they do is identify with bodybuilding, and that's just like all they are, all they do, all they talk about, all they think about, all they revolve their life around. It's like there's more to life.
Yeah.
Even if you are, a professional in the industry, like there's more to life. And I don't know, I just feel like it's also very isolating.
I agree with that. I think it is very isolating. And it's almost like you have to stay in your little circle of people that get bodybuilding if that's how you're going to live.
Right.
And
Because a lot of people
that's
don't understand it.
no, they do not. Hang on, I got somebody busting in.
She said, Charlie, before we started, she goes, my kids are feral and they're going to be busting in. So come on in.
All right. We're just going to keep going. She knows that I'm doing something, so that's why we're here.
Mhm.
Um, but no, going back to your point of a lot of people do not get bodybuilding. So if that is all that you are, that is all that you're gonna be, and that's all that you can really be around, unless you have children that won't leave you alone. Then there you're from.
She can hang out. That's fine.
Okay.
Charlie, I like your bangs.
Thank you. Say thanks. I did it myself. They're growing though. They are
They are
growing a
growing
bit.
a little bit.
Yep.
They're not sticking straight up anymore.
No, no, they're almost to the point that we can kind of sort of shape them, maybe. Oh my goodness.
No, but very important point. Yeah, like a lot of people don't understand it, and you're going to be so isolated within that like handful of people within the industry, and that like there's got to be more. Like you got to have more depth to you, right? Like you can't just live and breathe and die by one thing only, especially when it's like it's not like this is an actual like full-time job, right? Like
That's a very, very good point because even the pros aren't making a lot of money from bodybuilding unless
right.
you're Mr. Olympia.
But even then, like there are other avenues of income that those people are they have, whether it's within bodybuilding or whatever the case, right? But like there's still just so much more. Like you got to have more depth to you. Have you
Yeah.
ever had like a conversation with someone and it's like that's all they're talking about? And
I
you're like,
honestly, I've been that person. And it's like, I can feel it in myself. Oh gosh, what else do I have?
right, right. It's just like, I don't know. It's important to have more depth to you. And like, I know you mentioned this before we started recording, but like the burnout aspect of it, right? It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, of course you can be passionate about it and like this can be your thing, right? Absolutely. But at one point or another, like you're gonna fucking run yourself into the ground.
That is the major point that I wanted to hit on because, like I said, I was that person. So I ran myself into the ground and that's all that I had. It was mom and bodybuilding. And I didn't think I could have any friends outside of bodybuilding because no one else got it and yada, yada, yada.
No,
But
not yada yada. Like expand on it.
well, like no one else got it. So I felt like an island all by myself. And I did that to myself. And now looking back on the last few years of me doing that, I wasted so much time and so many relationships that I could have cultivated and so many hobbies that I could have cultivated because my whole identity was the gym. I was coaching at the time full time. So that was my whole world. It was the gym, bodybuilding, coaching, fitness. Everyone does fitness. And now, even being working full time in an office and just understanding what other people have to go through to keep up their fitness, it's just so eye opening. And then just other things that you can do, like
It
making
almost just like
bread.
throws you, it almost like throws you a little bit back into the real world, right? Where it's like you forget how other people function and like
Yes. Well, now I'm thinking back of when I was coaching full time and I had been a stay-at-home mom for so long. And I really went through my fitness journey when I was a stay-at-home mom after I had her. So I never understood. And now I'm like, man, I was kind of an asshole where I'm like, well, why couldn't you get your steps? Because.
But I think
So
it
it's,
also speaks to like, also where we're kind of both at in our priority in fitness and bodybuilding right now too, right? Because like we're both not
Mhm.
like active competitors, like not in a prep, not, I mean, I'm figuring it out right now. Like, I'm
And
kind of in
that's
a
what you
holding
gotta
phase,
do.
like, but it's been also so long too, where it's like, nope, there's so much internally that we need to get right before anything. And like, I'll be straight up with you, like this time to myself in all of this, it also has been very eye-opening in like diving into my own brain, like, do I actually want to compete again? Or like, do I just feel like I have like unfinished business, right?
I think that is such a good conversation. And I don't know if we should have it here or in another episode because it's something that you have to figure out like when you are bodybuilding, do I really want to do this or do I want to do this because of unfinished business or because of social media or
Like, what is
because
the
I'm
why
like
behind it?
confident? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that is so important to have a strong foundational why, especially when going through a prep, because like right now, just in, doing the internal stuff that I'm doing, I'm like, well, like I'm not in a proper growth phase. I'm not in a prep or anything like that. So it's like I can get away with, a little bit of, not being adherent here or there. Obviously not off the rails, like never, right? But because I still do thrive in that structure and with just the accountability piece and like that keeps me on track and sane for what it's worth, right?
Yeah.
But like part of me is just like I feel like I've also grown so much and we've kind of talked about this, in some past episodes where it's like the all or nothing, right? Where it's like do I even have that anymore where I'm like I'm ready to push 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 like through anything, no excuses? Like I don't know. I don't know if that like truly would bring me joy anymore. I have no fucking clue.
See, that's a good point. Like, would it bring you joy? Is competing going to bring you joy? Um,
It's like you live this obviously like bodybuilding lifestyle regardless, right? And that is what brings me happiness. That's what brings me joy. The repetitiveness, the structure, the reliance of being able to, like we said, like we've talked about, fall back on your structures and you know that that's always there and you don't have to think or scramble about anything, right? Someone else is your fucking brain. And I love that truly because
yeah.
it makes my life simpler. But like man, especially just like in the season of life, like, do I have it in me to like, even when I'm going through the fucking trenches, like trudge through and finish a prep with my all? I don't know.
And that's something that you would have to decide before you even think about going into a prep.
Mm-hmm.
So important. And it's so good that you're in this season of life. And you know what? It's probably because of the season of life that you're in that you're questioning all of this. When you're at a season where you feel like woosah and like
Yeah,
you can focus on just you, you might feel differently. And you
right.
might not. And that's okay.
Yeah, and I mean that's, only time's gonna tell with that. And it's just so crazy because like for the last, handful of years, I've been like so just dead set on like I gotta get back to stage. I gotta finish what I started. And I'm just like, do I? I
And
don't know.
that's you maturing though. Like
Right.
that's you realizing that there is more to life than bodybuilding. And
Exactly, exactly. Like being more than just one dimensional, one track minded in all of it. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Mhm.
cut you off.
No, no, I love that. And I love that it kind of ties into our topic today too, because where was I going with that?
It's just
Because
important to
when
have
you,
other things.
yes, yes. And when you have just bodybuilding and then you have this like kind of identity crisis where you're like, Is this really something that I want to do?" You have nothing left. So you have to then
Yeah,
rebuild
yeah.
from the ground.
And how many times have I found myself in that situation, right? Like
Mhm.
the first time I pulled out of like, I mean, rewind 2 years ago when after I did my first show, and then I was like, I'm gonna build into wellness. And then things changed, right? And I prioritized work and like all of those things, right? Or when I was in my last prep and I had to pull out of that, like,
Mhm.
you do have this identity crisis. And it's so important to have other things to be able to focus on and put your time and energy into and have other interests and have other things that bring you joy because I mean, yeah, of course, we still have the gym, we still have our structures, but like just are you doing it for what reasons are you doing it for, right? Like if it's
Yes.
like all I'm doing it for is just the end result to be on stage in a fucking glittery bikini again, like, well, why?
Yeah.
If that gets
I
ripped out from
love
under
that.
you, is all of your happiness gone?
Exactly. Exactly. And when you are off stage in that glittery bikini and everything's done and no one else is there, the judges are gone, what do you have then?
Man, that's so important is that post-show mentality, like where where you are mentally. Because I mean, I can remember clear as day after my first show, I was like, I feel like a lost puppy. Like I had
Mhm.
this goal, everything was geared towards show day, stage, every single, second accounted for leading up to it. And it's like, once it's all over, what do you have?
Yeah.
Of course you still have to stay structured and everything like that, but like, hey, now is the time where like you can go out with your family, you can hang out with friends, you can go out for coffee, you can go do other hobbies that have been on hold because you had to have your whole existence revolving around your prep right now, where it's like, no, now you have time to do those things. Like make sure that those things are still in your life and prominent too, because once show day's over, you're probably not just gonna stay in a prep. I mean, like, yeah, sure, seasonally, if you do a couple shows, right? But like
Yeah.
when the season's over, what do you have?
At some point, you have to stop. And also, like, big picture, at some point, you're gonna have to stop competing. At some point, there's gonna be a point where your body will say, no more, or your life will say, no more. So, what do you have then?
Yeah. Don't isolate yourself and throw everything to the wayside for it. It's like, yeah, we can love it and we can absorb it while we have it. And we can still be in the industry, even if you're not competing and everything like
Mhm.
that. But it's like, there's so much more, you know?
Yeah, I know. I feel like I've been in that whole journey for this past year.
Mhm.
And it's hard. It is an identity crisis because I was so determined and I was like, I want to go pro. And now I'm like, I don't even know if I want to get back on stage. I don't know. It's like a struggle to get to the gym 3 times a week right now. And
Right, right.
it's just the season of life I'm in, and that has
Exactly.
to be okay for right now.
Right. And that could change, right? That could change
Yeah.
at any given moment. And also just being open to that possibility of change too, right? Obviously, if it's what you want, right? It's like, yeah, ultimately I would love to compete again, but like, do I need to? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And then do you want to? Like, will your life allow you to when it gets to the point where you want to? There's so much
Right.
that goes into it.
And you do have to push through and you do have to schedule your life around training and cardio and meals and everything because that is an essential part of prep. That is a commitment and that is something that you give up to be able to do that, you know?
Hmm.
It's just,
Yeah.
how much are you willing to sacrifice? Do you want to be all in with that or not? Who knows?
Yeah. Right now, no, I don't. So, what are some things that are your hobbies? Because you were like the hobby queen over there, outside of the gym.
Well, I mean, obviously, number one is going to be my horse. I mean, I've had my horse since I was 15 years old, so more than half of my life.
It's just so cool.
Um, and it sucks because I mean, like, I don't see him as much as I would like to, especially in the winter. It's just miserable because it's so freaking cold outside. But I mean, my horse is that he's we grew up together, he's what taught me
Yeah.
responsibility. I mean, that pretty much since I've been driving, I've had two car payments essentially, so it's like that has been a huge part of my life. And, same thing, like you can't just also have one thing be your
Yeah.
identity. Like I could have gone down that road and made that my identity, showing and everything like that. It's a whole different world and, with a whole slew of different kind of human beings and
Yeah. It's almost like
it's
bodybuilding.
it is yeah, so
Very niche.
it's I mean obviously that's number one, but God, I don't what else do I
Okay,
do?
well, you texted me, what is it, like 2 months ago, that you just ordered a whole bunch of stuff for
Oh,
candle
I only
maker.
did that once.
But she texted me, I just ordered a whole bunch of stuff for candle making. I just decided I'm gonna
Yeah,
make candles and then I'm gonna learn how to sell them. Like,
yeah, like why not,
I'm here for it.
so. And my biggest thing is like I have such a creative brain, and if I
Mhm.
don't put that to use, like I'm in trouble. Like whether that's painting, whether that's drawing, whether that's just creating. Creating is so pertinent to me and important to me. Like having a creative outlet like the podcast, right? Like it's a form of creating and things like that.
Yeah.
That in a whole is something that is like part of my identity. Like I used to like I almost went to college for culinary because I was going to go into being a pastry chef.
I
Like I
didn't
used to
know
manage
that.
yeah, I used to manage a bakery and like decorate cookies, like, so just for a form of creating art, things like that is very me.
Yeah, very much so. You do have a lot of things. And you also were very into paintball.
Yeah, I was. That was
All of
that
those things.
was that was like a decade ago, Sarah.
Well,
More than
I
a
feel
decade
like
ago, but yeah.
that was something that you were very into. And I don't know. It's just you're such a good example of this because you are so dedicated to your goals, your fitness goals, but then you have so much more outside of all of that.
Right. And a lot of my other things like they do take a lot, well, it's not a lot of them, but some of them do take, a lot of sacrifice too. Like I, just in October went down to Florida to, the biggest paintball event to kind of just like dip my toes in and see like, hey, is this something that I would want to get back into competitively because there's a lot of people in the industry that want me back. And it would also take a lot of time and effort and money to put into it. And it's like, for what? Is it worth it? Because it would be 10 weekends a year where I'm flying out of town either for practice or an actual competitive event. And like, yeah, there would be sponsorships and whatever, but like still that's another cost,
Oh, that's
It's like,
money.
do I have time for that? Like, or I can just get gear and play locally and have probably a lot of fun too, where
Yeah.
I'm not having to, go out of town 10 weekends a year. Like 10 weekends a year, that's a lot just for, paintball. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, and if you
that
just
that
have
was
that outlet.
yeah, and so that was, a little bit of a consideration this past fall was just to kind of see, where I wanted to go, in regards to that. And, I can pick and choose if, there are some events that I do want to fly out for and play. I had, a lot of doors reopen in the industry and a lot of people that were very happy to see me back.
Good.
Even if I wasn't playing, just, my presence and a lot of offers for, potential future things. But uh, it's not something that I know that I want to commit to full time like that, right? Where
Yeah. And
I
that's fair.
can do that, here and there when I want to, just for fun, just because it's something that I love to do. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's good. It's just another thing to add to your bucket of who you are and what
right,
you do.
right. Now you go.
My God. I don't know.
You love to bake.
I do. I do love to bake. That actually came out of my last prep because I needed an outlet. So that became my outlet. I got really good at baking bread, and sourdough is kind of like on my radar. It really makes me nervous, but I want to try it. And I don't know, 2020 flipped a switch in my head, and I just kind of wanted to get more self-sufficient. So diving more into that, I kind of let it go during my prep and now getting back into it. And now that life is knock on wood, kind of like, I don't
Leveling
even want to
out.
say it. I don't want to say it.
I'll say it for you.
I'm knocking all that wood. But now that we're kind of at a point where like I can have a bigger capacity in my brain, um, kind of thinking about garden and just those things. I sound like an
I love
old
that.
grandma, but
No, it's so cool though. Like I used to like at one of the houses freaking 6 years ago, like I had a garden and it was so much fun. It was so
it
much
is.
fun.
It is because then you know that like you know where your food's coming from. You know that you're gonna have a shit ton of zucchini and shit ton of cucumbers, and you don't have to worry about it.
And you can make homemade salsa and it's so much fun. Yeah. I would say another one of my hobbies is definitely my plants too.
Oh, you are definitely a plant mom. I kill them. I think I have some dead flowers back there. I'm
Yeah.
trying to water. But no. And then children. Honestly, my kids are at an age where everyone says, oh, as they get older, they get easier. No, there's just bigger kids, bigger problems. And like that's where we're at, bigger emotions, bigger, you know, just everything. So they just really have taken a lot of time. And that's good.
Mhm.
I needed that reality check when I was so one-dimensional in bodybuilding. It was almost like I'm a bodybuilder, oh, and I'm a mom and wife. Now it's
Yeah.
like that's just a piece of who I am and
They
kind of
can
who I
all coexist.
that's yes, but I don't know if I trust myself yet to coexist them to the extreme that I was at. So
Right.
I need to like
I think
find
that
out.
that comes in seasons too, because like realistically, you can't put your all in everything at the same time. You can't. It's just
Yeah,
literally impossible, especially in bodybuilding, because that does require a lot more attention.
that is such a good point. Such a good point. And I think that that's something that us as competitors, we need to give ourselves permission to understand that you can't be all in all the time. Like you have other areas of life that you need to water, and that's okay.
Hmm. And that's so okay. Like
Mm.
the stage literally will always be there.
Literally, how many times do we hear it? Like they will always take your money. It'll
Right.
always be there.
Yeah. Like it is very important to realize like, hey, you don't have to live and die and breathe by this 24/7 for all of your existence. Like it
Yeah.
can ebb and flow.
Yes. And I mean, this can be just a part of your story that maybe you move on from it. And that's okay too.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
heavy on that.
yes, same.
I feel like this is so like so contradictory to like where where we started.
Oh my gosh, I know. Well, like I said, like just even going back and like looking at the old episodes or like how I used to coach, like I'm just a completely different human and
Mhm.
you don't know what you don't know and then life will give you a big old slice
Humble
of humble
you.
pie.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh fuck yeah, well.
Yup. But that's good because you need that in order to grow as a human and just that's
And
part of
have different
learning.
perspectives and be able to understand that like not everyone is in that season of push.
Yes. Yes. And that is okay. They are not weak because I used to think that I was weak. Me last year, 2 years ago, would think that this version is very weak and she needs to get her head out of her ass. And
Yeah,
that it's not true. That's just so one dimensional, one way
it
of
is.
thinking.
It is, and honestly, like that season for a very extended amount of time is very unhealthy.
It, yes. I feel like you need to say that again because yes.
Staying one-dimensional and being so hard-headed and to the point where you're not giving yourself grace for a very extended amount of time is so extremely unhealthy. That is
Mhm.
more than likely why we both had to go through a fucking gut protocol. So,
You know, and then you add that to doing that for 25 years of your life, and there you are.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
learn from us, get some hobbies.
Other things in life can coexist with the foundational structure of bodybuilding, and you can still be a bodybuilder and live the bodybuilding lifestyle without actively competing. I've been doing it since 2021, you know?
Yes, and you will still live the bodybuilding lifestyle and be a bodybuilder no matter if you decide that you're going to prep again or not. And that's okay too. Like, that is who you are.
Great. Agreed.
So,
Love it.
all
That's
right.
it. That's all I
Okay.
got.
Me too. So, thanks for hanging out with us, guys. And we will be
Maybe we'll
back.
see you again soon.
I was just going to say, we'll be back when we're back. So, peace. Bye, guys.
Bye.